I'm no Superman, but if I had a superpower and I could speak from the dust, from the grave, and tell people from there what I wanted to happen with my family and my assets, I would do it in a heartbeat. 60% of Americans don't have an estate plan and have nullified their superpower. Follow me, and we'll talk about the 5 reasons why you better have an estate plan before you die. In sports, there's probably nothing more disappointing than the shot sent just after the buzzer sounds. An estate plan is like that in that if you don't have one and you die, it's like taking the shot after the clock expires. You have no voice. We're going to talk about 5 reasons why you have to have an estate plan, why most Americans who don't have one are absolutely missing the shot at the buzzer, and we're going to go through each step and tell you something you don't know, because if you knew what I know about estate plans and why they're important, you'd rush to your attorney and get one done. Before we get started, let's talk about what an estate plan is. An estate plan is essentially the package deal for all necessary end-of-life legal and financial actions. It includes a final will and testament, a trust, power of attorney, and even instructions beyond a will to guide your family's future once you are gone. Now, I want to emphasize here, an estate plan sounds like that kind of thing where you're buying a burial plot or something. I'm talking about something entirely different. Years ago, my wife and I were the parents of a young family. We had 5 children. They were all like under the age of 10. And we were on a campaign trip when I was running for Congress, believe it or not. We were over the mountains, high in the air at midnight in a single engine plane. And my wife and I started to get really nervous because we hadn't taken care of who was going to take care of our children if something were to happen to us, like on that flight over the mountains at midnight in a single engine plane with a pilot we didn't even know. That's part of the responsibility of having an estate plan. It not only deals with your assets, it deals with your most important asset, your children, and who's going to be the guardian of your children if something unfortunate, unexpected, unthinkable were to happen to you and your spouse, leaving them orphans. That's what an estate plan is about. We'll talk about that, the asset side, the guardian side, all the administrative side that you need to know so that you can make the best possible decision for your most important asset, your family. The first benefit of an estate plan, clean decisions. Without the directives given by an estate plan, the succession of your assets or guardianship of your children can become a terribly messy business. Don't leave your family second-guessing what you wanted for them. Get it in writing. I cannot emphasize enough that your voice as a parent, your voice as the owner of your assets, your home, your bank account, even your life insurance policy, your voice matters. Don't give it up. It's your superpower. But more and more people these days are saying, I'm not going to worry about the future. I'm not going to worry about when I take that last second shot. And if you take it too late, it doesn't matter how good the shot was. If you don't put in writing how you want your assets and your family taken care of when you go, you literally have no voice. And the legislature of the state will decide, and the government will decide, or the court will decide how your family's taken care of after you go. So for the benefit of clean decisions, you've got to put your last desires, your personal decision into your estate plan so that you have a voice after you die. Let's make this personal. I knew a family where a husband and a wife passed away. They had some minor kids. Let's be real. There was money involved. There was a life insurance policy that was going to be spent on the children. And so interestingly enough, different members of the family wanted to have the kids and the money that would go ahead and follow the kids. As a parent, you kind of know the personalities that are in your family. And for you to leave it to chance about who it is that gets the kids and the money that will take care of the kids is negligence. Frankly, that's the way it is. Why would you give up your voice to decide how your kids are taken care of? So in this situation, it ended up working out, but in your situation, it might not. Money does crazy things to people. So the simple answer, make sure you have a will that talks about guardianship. Make sure you have a life insurance policy that names a beneficiary that you trust. Do all of these things before the tragedy happens, and then you can sleep at night and not worry about it. If the worst case happens, you're covered, your kids are safe, the money's going to go where it's supposed to go, and the beautiful thing is your superpower lets you have that discretion as long as you take care of business before you die. Benefit number 2 for an estate plan is something that we all should be concerned about, and that is maintaining our privacy. I want matters of my family private. I don't want it drugged through the court where anybody who wants to can see it. I don't want it before a judge where a judge might make a decision. I want to maintain control over my family and my assets that I worked my whole life to preserve and to create. Probate court, you have a deceased person either had no will or only a will and no trust. All records are made public after court proceedings, family names, asset values, etc. Anyone can go to the courthouse for this private information. With an estate plan, a deceased person had a trust with assets along with a will. It's administered by an attorney without going to court. No records are made public, and there are speedy proceedings, especially compared to a formal probate court. Going back where I started, benefit number 2, keep private matters private. Have an estate plan. Otherwise, everything private becomes public. And who wants everybody's nose in our business? Benefit number 3, you can speak from the grave with detailed instructions rather than having the legislature speak in general about what happens with your assets. How magical is that? Well, let's take a couple of scenarios. Let's say you have a grandson. You can say, well, I think he needs to mature a little bit. We're going to give him no lump sum distribution until he reaches the age of 30, and you may even throw in until he gets a college degree. College tuition can be covered because you said it could be covered. You can even stipulate what might be seen as kind of real control from the grave. They must pass random drug testing each month until they hit the age of 30. The second scenario might be you have a daughter who's gotten straight A's all through high school. You're not worried about her a bit. You say, hey, I want to help her buy a house. I want to make her a 1/3 beneficiary of the trust assets. I want to make sure that she has this spirit of charitable interest where I ask her to donate $50,000 from whatever she receives to her favorite charity. Scenario number 3, I've got a sister who's in her advancing years. I want to make sure she's taken care of because she was always a good sister to me. I want to make sure she gets monthly payments of $2,500 until she passes away, that she has the title to the childhood home, and that she doesn't give any of those assets that I leave her to her children because I want them to come back to my children. I can make all of those directives in a trust. I can make all of those directives in a will. And importantly, I can't make any of those directions if I don't have a will or a trust and an estate plan. That's why we need to have these documents taken care of before something happens to us and we lose our superpower, our voice to speak beyond the grave. The fourth benefit, legal and tax strategies can be brought into play. The living trust, which holds a person's assets after death, can also be used in certain circumstances to limit liability. For properties owned in different states, a trust makes it so that you do not have to open up probate proceedings in other states. There's not enough time to talk about all the benefits legally and from a tax perspective of an estate plan, but let's put it this way. If your heir, your son or your daughter, your grandson, your granddaughter, receives an inheritance through probate, through intestacy, they're going to get a lump sum of money and they can do anything they want with it. It could be gone in 2 weeks. With an estate plan, you can dictate how quickly they can use the money. You can dictate whether they can pledge the assets in the trust for a loan and burn through it and lose it all very quickly. You control from the grave, in a sense, exactly how that money will be preserved for the long-term benefit of your family. You can imagine the expense of trying to hire a lawyer in multiple states if you have real property scattered throughout the United States. But if you put all those property assets into a trust, there was no death of the owner. The owner is the trust. And then there's no reason to probate the assets in those various states and have all those multiple legal proceedings, multiple attorneys, burning through the principal of whatever you earned in your life. Benefit number 5, life insurance. Your life insurance policy can be appended into your estate plan as a tax-free source of wealth. Many people use life insurance to cover legal and funeral costs, along with the dreaded estate tax consequences of death. Technically speaking, life insurance doesn't necessarily go through your estate plan. It's kind of like an appendage to your estate plan because it goes directly to a beneficiary who's named. And if you have a named beneficiary, it doesn't go through your will, it doesn't go through your trust, or you can make the trust the beneficiary of the life insurance program. So in any event, as you talk to a lawyer about your estate plan, you need to make sure you think about the life insurance component and how that can complement, append to, or add value to your whole estate plan. We've talked today about 5 principles, 5 key reasons why every American needs an estate plan. One of the things we didn't talk about is the importance of updating things once you get things set in cement. Let me give you an example. If you have a life insurance policy and you name a beneficiary, and that beneficiary happens to pass away, or you happen to change your mind about that beneficiary, you need to pay attention and update your life insurance policy. Make sure the beneficiary is still living. Make sure it's still the person you trust to take care of that quote-unquote inheritance from the life insurance plan that can transfer tax-free. If you've got a will and you've got beneficiaries, if you've got a trust and you've got trustees and they've passed on or they're no longer in your life, you want to make sure you update the will, update the trust, make sure that your voice, your superpower is preserved so that if things change in your life, you've changed your estate plan so that your current will is in force and effect. And remember, most importantly, an estate plan can be complicated. You need good advice who will help you figure out exactly who your representatives should be, how to spend the hard-earned wealth, who the guardians of your children ought to be, and they can put it in writing in a way so that when you pass beyond, your will still speaks from the grave and you've maintained your superpower. If we can help you figure out how to solve your estate planning problems, just click the link below and we'll help you take it from there. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so we can send you more amazing content to help you in making your legal decisions, and be sure and click the link below.